All right, let's get into it. Today, we are talking about one of the body's real unsung heroes, the powerful, fat-soluble vitamin K. It's often overlooked, but it plays a role that is absolutely critical to our survival. So let's explore how this tiny molecule keeps us safe every single day.
I mean, seriously, think about this for a second. What if you got a simple paper cut, but the bleeding just didn't stop? It's a pretty scary thought, right? But it gets right to the heart of what we're talking about. Our ability to heal from even the smallest wounds depends entirely on this microscopic, perfectly timed chain reaction. And this picture shows you exactly what goes wrong. See, the proteins that are responsible for clotting, they're called coagulation factors. They start out just kind of immature and inactive. Vitamin K is literally the key that unlocks their potential, allowing them to grow up and do their job. Without it, the whole system just grinds to a halt.
So let's take a closer look at that process. The moment you get an injury, your body unleashes this incredible, super efficient cascade of events to plug the leak. It really is a biological masterpiece of timing and precision.
Okay, so here's the play-by-play. First, right at the site of the injury, platelets rush in, and they release a substance called thromboplastin. That kicks off step 2. It activates a protein called prothrombin and turns it into its active form, thrombin. And finally, that thrombin works its magic, converting another protein, fibrinogen, into these strong, sticky threads called fibrin. And that fibrin mesh, that's the solid clot that stops the bleeding.
Now, what's so cool about this diagram is that it shows you that those 3 simple steps we just covered, they're actually part of an even bigger, more complex chain. And look, you can see vitamin K right there at the beginning, setting the stage for everything that comes after. It's the silent partner that makes this whole life-saving cascade even possible.
So, if blood clotting is the operation, then it's time we properly meet the supervisor, vitamin K itself. And it's not just one single thing, it's actually a whole family of compounds, but there are 2 main forms that are absolutely essential for us.
Here's the most important thing to remember. Vitamin K acts as a coenzyme. Think of it like a necessary helper. It enables the main enzymes in your liver to actually build and switch on those critical blood clotting proteins we were just talking about. Without this little helper, the main workers just can't do their jobs. Simple as that. So the 2 key players are K1 and K2. Vitamin K1, that's the one we get from our diet, mostly from plants. It's our main supply. Now, vitamin K2 is really fascinating because it's actually produced by the good bacteria living right inside our own gut. It provides a smaller amount, but it's still incredibly important.
But wait, there's more. Its job doesn't just stop at blood clotting. As this quote points out, vitamin K is also a huge player in our bone health. It helps out a protein called osteocalcin, which is vital for binding calcium into our bones. So it's not just stopping you from bleeding, it's also helping to build a strong skeleton. Pretty amazing, huh?
Okay, so we eat it, or our body makes some, but how does it get where it needs to go? Well, because it's a fat-soluble vitamin, its journey through the body is a little different than, say, water-soluble vitamins like C or B.
First off, just to get absorbed in our small intestine, it needs help from bile salts. From there, it gets all packaged up into these special transport particles. It travels through your lymphatic system first, then it jumps into the bloodstream where it basically hitches a ride to the liver, and that's where it's stored, ready to be put to work.
All right, now that we know just how crucial vitamin K is, it's pretty obvious that a shortage would cause some serious problems. So let's look at what happens when the system breaks down and someone actually becomes deficient.
A deficiency can happen for a few key reasons. The most obvious one is just not getting enough in your diet, but it can also be caused by medical conditions that mess with fat absorption. Because if you can't absorb fat, you can't absorb vitamin K. And then certain medications, like some anticoagulants or even long-term antibiotics, can also interfere with how it works or how it's made.
Thankfully, a true deficiency is pretty rare in healthy adults. Part of that is because our gut bacteria are always making a steady supply for us. But when it does happen, the consequences are exactly what you'd expect. Blood clotting doesn't work right, which can lead to hemorrhage, and because of its role with our bones, there's an increased risk of fractures.
There is one group, though, that's uniquely vulnerable: newborn babies. See, an infant is born with a totally sterile gut. That means they don't have any of those helpful K2-producing bacteria yet. It can take weeks for that little internal factory to get up and running, and that leaves them at risk.
And this is why, as a standard and totally vital preventative measure, pretty much all newborns are given a single dose of vitamin K right after they're born. This one simple shot protects them from the risk of dangerous bleeding during those first crucial weeks of life.
Okay, so we've seen the process, we've seen the problems. Let's wrap up with the solution. How do we make sure our bodies are fully fueled with this essential nutrient to keep all our defenses strong?
Well, the answer is simple and it is very green. Vitamin K1 is packed into green leafy vegetables. We're talking about nutritional powerhouses like kale, spinach, chard, and broccoli. And yeah, cabbage and Brussels sprouts are fantastic sources too. So, how much do you actually need? Well, the recommended daily amount for adult men is about 120 micrograms. And just keep in mind that's micrograms, a tiny mcg, not milligrams. So it's a very, very small but super potent amount.
And for adult women, the recommendation is a little bit lower at 90 micrograms per day. Just to give you some perspective, a single serving of cooked kale or spinach can easily give you way more than your entire daily amount.
So it turns out Popeye was really onto something with his love for spinach. I mean, sure, he was focused on getting strong, but he was also loading up on one of the best sources of vitamin K around. He was protecting his bones and making sure he could heal up from any bumps and bruises along the way.
So there you have it. From stopping a tiny paper cut to literally helping build the skeleton you walk around in, it's clear vitamin K is a small nutrient that plays a massive role in our health every day. The only question left is, will this change the way you look at your next salad?